Nobody is perfect, right? But some people sure try hard to be, or at least to find the perfect ultimate thing to latch onto that beats everything else on the planet. In martial arts, that can mean over-glorifying certain schools or traditions of styles of martial arts, or mystifying certain warrior classes, or just claiming that a particular technique just beats everything else. Things like that, which you also often see in movies. You know, this quest to find the ultimate technique or style that just makes you invincible. Which, of course, every serious martial artist who actually practices more combat-oriented martial arts knows that is nonsense. But it is propagated by dubious sensationalist shows like Deadliest Warrior, which have very little credibility to offer, but cater to that desire to find the ultimate thing. Even though in actuality that show is about as good at accurately representing reality as is a sitcom. There is really not too much to learn about it. But I've seen plenty of examples of this desire to find the ultimate thing, be it in movies or popular culture or on the internet, whatever. But the thing is this. There is no single ultimate style or technique. It all comes down to, at least if we're talking about combat-oriented martial arts, there are of course plenty of martial arts that go more in the direction of aesthetics or sports or whatever. Just basically more about scoring points than actually surviving in a life or death situation, which fortunately nowadays we don't have to anymore, but it's still interesting to study those things. And when you're talking about something like that, which was used by people in order to survive, well, it worked. It's what kept people alive. However, there is no single ultimate technique. In fact, there is a counter for every technique, and there is a counter for the counter, and the counter for the counter for the counter. Let me just give you one particular example of that. You have a parry with half swording and then thrust the point into the face. My opponent can close that line of attack by moving his blade to the side, to which in turn I can respond by slipping my blade off and cutting his arm. Now he can counter my counter by winding his blade against my forearm and stepping to the side. But I can counter his counter by disengaging, also stepping to the side and then cutting to his back. So yeah, that's just one example. It generally goes like that. You can counter everything and nothing is perfect. And for instance, in a sword fight, if your opponent attacks with a 45-degree downward cut and you also do a 45 downward cut at the same time, it defeats that, because that way you're closing off the line of attack that your opponent is engaged in while attacking on your own. You're safe that way and you're attacking at the same time. So that is something that defeats the other technique. But wait, it's the same technique, isn't it? The technique defeats itself. There are some examples of kind of a stone, paper, scissors principle, where one technique actually defeats the other technique. But guess what? The same technique is also defeated by others. And there are things like feints, of course, where you act as though you are going to execute one technique and then suddenly you change the angle, things like that. And there's just way too much that goes into a fight, including even things like luck, as trivial as it may seem, but sometimes that may be decisive. If you watch two practitioners of the same style fight it out against each other, and if they are at the same skill level, you will usually see it go back and forth. Sometimes the one person wins, sometimes the other. You can't just overgeneralize and say, oh, this style is superior. You can't just say that, oh, this technique is really good at decapitating someone. Yeah, well, if you never have an opportunity to do it because your opponent is too good at his defense or is too quick or whatever, it's useless. So I'd really wish people would abandon their superiority complex and would just go with whatever interests them the most personally, what suits them, without claiming that it's better than everything else, because most likely it's not. It depends on who goes against whom, and it depends on all kinds of things, probably even the weather. Yeah, actually it does. That's one of the things that kicked the Crusaders in the ass, because they were not used to fighting in the desert, and especially not in full plate armor. Not a good idea. But knowing how people tick, those who think that their shit is the best will probably not be swayed by this video. At any rate, I just felt like making it, and maybe it does have some informational or at least entertainment value. So, thanks for watching. Invincible pummel strike!